Welcome to the Tomorrow's World Webcast. I'm Mike DeSimone. There have been a few articles recently about political correctness, or really maybe Donald Trump's political incorrectness. Political correctness is something I find intriguing. One piece in particular by Terry Newell in the Huffington Post is an op-ed piece I thought was interesting. Its title was Political Correctness and Bigotry. And he argues that political correctness should be a good thing, though may go too far sometimes. He says, quote, "Political correctness emerged as a reaction to speech and actions judged by some as offensive for their denigration of a person's sex, ethnicity, race, religion, sexual preference, or some other group identity. Its goal is to prevent psychological or social damage. In helping us to be mindful of ways we can harm each other and human dignity, even if inadvertently, the focus on political correctness can serve a useful purpose," end quote. So he's saying in regard to not hurting anyone's feelings, it's really useful. But I want to say a couple things before I go on. First of all, regardless of the way we look at an issue, we should not hate anyone, and we should not do harm to anyone, period. We should be gentle, kind, and loving toward all people, whether we see eye to eye with them or not. At the same time, being kind and loving doesn't mean we have to agree with them. It also doesn't mean we have to believe their way is just as right as our way. But see, political correctness doesn't stop there. It teaches that if you don't accept others' views as being just as right as yours, you're wrong. Which the author, to his credit, goes on to point out does in fact happen and is a problem. He goes on to explain that when it goes too far. He says, quote, "Whether exercised by the right or the left, the insistence on political correctness can create wrongs. It can go too far. In stifling speech, it can make important topics off limits to reasonable study and discussion. It can encourage harassment of those who are viewed as not politically correct. In short, using one form of intolerance to try to prevent another," end quote. So that's interesting because it's an ironic inherent dichotomy you're faced with when everyone is right and no one is wrong except for those who are right. If everyone's right and no one's wrong, except for those who stand up for what's morally right, there is no sense of right and wrong, and we lose sight of even natural consequences, natural common sense, resulting in problems from even long lines at the airport because the TSA feels the need and the pressure to spend the same amount of time pulling aside little old ladies and mothers with small children to search for explosives as they do those who otherwise fit the very profile of convicted terrorists. To our children becoming confused about their very gender. One of the basics of life. And the parents are shamed if they point them in the right direction. In Romans 1, Paul talked about certain people who, quote, "suppress the truth. And because of evidence all around us that there is a Creator, they are without excuse, professing to be wise, they become fools." Now, I realize what I'm saying is not politically correct, but it is right. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook or Twitter.